It's debatable here on MLBBro.com.
Trading deadline. There were some shockwaves. Marcus Stroman not traded. Jack Flaherty traded to the American League and a homer's bandbox. What's the most surprising thing from the trade deadline as far as the MLB bros are concerned?
Man, well, my biggest shock to me, and there's a lot of, I mean, granted, take this as you will, because I'm a Mets fan and most of our rotation's gone, but that's another story for another platform. The biggest shock for me on the trade deadline front is Tim Anderson is still a White Sox. Like, what? Like, what? Exactly. That phrase, what? Listen, to me, it made perfect sense to ship Tim Anderson out of town. He's an impending free agent. You know, it's looked like for the last couple years, like we were heading down that path. And for him to still be a White Sox, especially after they kind of pretty much traded everybody that had some value on that team to trade, that weren't kind of young guys. I don't really understand that decision. I don't get what now. Maybe Rick Hahn and Kenny Williams probably felt like, hey, they weren't getting maybe a lot of value for their assets, so they decided to just hold on to him. But that doesn't make any sense, because I don't think he's resigning there, and I don't think they have an appetite to give him a long-term deal either. So he's not coming back. You're basically letting him walk out the door for nothing. So that didn't really make a lot of sense to me from the White Sox perspective.
Well, it just shows you how much shine is off of that couple years ago rising star that Tim Anderson was. I don't know whether it's the off the field issues or his on field productivity, because he's always been a little gimpy as far as health is concerned. Yeah. So you kind of know what you're getting in that regard. But I would agree that is as shocking as a move that wasn't made could ever have been. I'll bring Jack Flaherty up right now because of all the innings-eating pitchers out there, why would you take a guy from the National League, bring him into a homer's paradise with an ERA of damn near 4.5? Do you not have any confidence, or was Baltimore playing their fan base by saying, because we'd heard that Verlander was the guy and that they were being really active?
I never bought that. Nah, I never bought into that. Listen, the Orioles need pitching. I can't blame them for taking a flyer on Jack Flaherty. Listen, we're not that far removed from Jack Flaherty being an all-world starter. And if you look at his numbers, he's 7-6. He's got a 4.43 ERA on a bad team. I mean, you got to believe that maybe being on a pennant race, being on a hot, in a vibrant market like Baltimore, a reinvigorated market, you know how it is sometimes. Guys go to a new place. He's pitching for a contract. Can't forget that. He's pitching for a deal. Jack Flaherty might be an underrated move. Listen, I still believe in Jack Flaherty. Maybe he's not the rising superstar that he was projected to be a few years ago, but he's still a guy that has the quality arm to be a very good starter. And listen, if you're Baltimore, you can't, beggars can't be choosers. Your rotation was piss poor, and you needed arms in that rotation. And getting a guy, Jack Flaherty, who is better than anything that you have currently, is a plus to me. Plus, you were never getting Verlander. I never bought into the Verlander. Sure, they weren't coming there. The Orioles were not going to take away young prospects to go trade for 39 and 40-year-olds. We'll leave that to the Astros and the Rangers. Yeah,
who are definitely in win now mode. So you'd have to say those two. But in all fairness to the Orioles and Jack Flaherty, I mean, you talk about taking a flyer on. The Orioles do have a quality bunch of young starters. They've never been through a pennant race. They've never logged this many innings.
Exactly.
So you're looking at physical and mental maturity now.
That's a big one, yeah.
With a team that has championship caliber talent. So I respect and appreciate, I guess, the thought process. But if you don't win a World Series in the next 3 years, you're going to wonder why. That's why I think you take your shot without blowing up the farm. And I don't understand why people seem to make it so hard
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, but honestly, I don't think Scherzer was coming there, and I don't think Verlander were coming there. I think they weren't waiving their no trade clauses maybe to come there, and also I think that the Orioles weren't going to part with the necessary prospects that it would have taken to get either one of those guys. So I don't think you can fault them in that. And then if you look at the other there weren't any other credible starters. Obviously Shohei never got traded, so that you can't say they could have got Shohei, and then Stroman never went anywhere, so you can't say they could have got Stroman. So I just don't know where the Orioles were going. I mean, Lance Lynn excites you? I mean, honestly, I'd rather have Jack Flaherty than Lance Lynn. So, listen, I like this move for Baltimore. I mean, it's not a sexy name. I mean, but I stress Jack Flaherty a couple years ago, before injuries, was on the ascension of being a big time starting pitcher. Maybe he could still rediscover that. Again, he's pitching for a contract, and we all know what guys do when they're singing for their supper. They magically find the fountain of youth and rejuvenate themselves.
For sure. For the man, Ram, it's the OG. That's debatable for this week.
For more, right now, go to MLBBro.com.